Okay, we're back for part 3, the third and final installment of this seemingly never-ending podcast interview. Had no idea it was going to go this long, but man, this has been powerful. It's powerful is the word that I can use. That's probably most accurate. So I want to continue with you. What are some of the? I mean, we talked about you, having to play both roles, mama, daddy, right? Figure it out on your own. Try to do everything with, and only ask for help if it's absolutely necessary. Can you give me some examples of some of those challenges that you that you went through? And I have a couple of key things I can throw out there, but I want to hear from you.
It made me realize what a single parent goes through.
Yeah.
Made me even more thankful for your daddy. Even though he was not with me all the time or with you guys all the time, but thankful that I had him. But a single parent doesn't have that.
Amen to that.
And it gave me an appreciation for the trials that they endure.
Wow.
Yeah. Gave me a little insight into their daily lives.
I can remember a few instances. I joked about the snake in the house, but that really happened multiple times. We thought we had a few peeping toms.
Yeah.
We thought there was a man standing in the backyard a couple of times.
Yeah.
You remember all those?
I do. Indeed. I sure do.
Wow. Yeah. I know me and Bradley were a handful. To say the least.
You were boys.
Well, boys are going to be boys. And there is, my first two kids, I called them the Saunders cheering, were girls. And then, you always heard that boys are different, and
boys
ain't
that
the truth.
Boys
that
are
Will
different.
Saunders, he is something else now.
Not like the girls.
Not like the girls at all. On that note, what was it like to have a woman raise two boys on your own?
It was trying at times.
Did you ever want to ship us off?
No. I was still thankful for you. I still loved you. But, those are just things that you go through in life, and you just pray really hard, and Lord gives you grace, and here you are. Right now, sitting across the table from me. Right?
In a company
That's right.
that you created, because this company wouldn't be here without you, and this company wouldn't focus on trucking without you.
Well.
So,
well, even though, growing up, you do things because you don't have the maturity, but you do things, and we all do things, even when we're grown, that we wish we hadn't done, or we could have done a different way. But you don't ever give up on people for that. You see the potential, and I think that a mother and a father can see the potential in their child. You just have to get to it.
Got to make it through the briar patch.
Yeah.
And get to the other side of the field. And that's some country stuff too. Y'all know about them briar patches.
Get to the end of the road.
That's right. That's right. Things were tight whenever we were young. Um, so, I have some memories of you babysitting,
I did.
right? I've gone to a couple. You went to been to the field a few times. I remember the only reason why I know what a Ferris wheel tobacco harvester is because I went with you.
That's right.
To work. So talk about some of the various jobs that you had, because you weren't able to work really full time.
Not then, but
So talk about that, if you would.
well, I wanted to do something, and really, my grandparents were a farming family. They were. So I have memories of going to the barn, and back then the farmers all would come together and they would do one family's crops, and then they would move on to another family, and they all did it together. And there would be at the barn, there would be women would be out there. Some women were cooking, and some women were out tying tobacco on the sticks. And there would always a pig cooked in the ground. But there could be 40, 50 people or better out there. So I had a little bit of knowledge of how to do some things. And and the farmers in our community, they were always looking. It always seemed that the women tied the tobacco. Yeah. But
you were always up top doing that. Right. I remember that.
Yeah. That was my first experience of a Ferris wheel tobacco harvester. But I mean, those were little things that I could do, but yet keep you guys where you needed to be.
Which is usually walking behind,
with me,
playing in the field.
Right, with tractors and
with
trucks.
Tractors, absolutely.
And trucks, yeah. Then and Bradley was little. He was really little. And at that time, to pay for babysitting for 2 children would be almost as much as I made.
Right.
So that's why.
Still is.
Yeah.
I mean, childcare is still super expensive.
It's super expensive now. So, excuse me.
Oh, it's okay.
So I did those little things until Bradley started school. And I thought, okay, I need to find the right thing because, I needed to be home when you were home until a little bit later on when you got a little bit older. So I had to be careful what I chose. And at that time, they were talking about adult bus drivers. And I thought, well, that's something I could do. And, I would be able to be home when they were home. So I got my CDLs. And 1 week after I got my CDLs, I got a phone call from Gary Weeks at Union High School. And he had a student driver that came in that morning and said she was done. She was not driving anymore. So he told me it was close to my home. Would I please consider taking the route? So I did. I took it. And then it led to me substituting. And by that time, Bradley was in kindergarten, so it was not a problem. My hours would still be the same.
They would be inside of that time where you're able to get him there and pick him up.
Right. Okay. So I told him yes, and then that transitioned to the new program. We were about to step into technology, and we were the pilot school for the state for the classes by satellite. And so they asked me would I consider doing it. So I thought about it a lot, and I prayed about it, and I said yes. And that transitioned into me taking classes. And I stayed in 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but that's
Turned into a career.
Turned into a career. Yes, it did. And I would go to school online during the summer while the kids were out of school. So, yeah.
Wow. I remember all that. It's called the Tie-In Program.
That's right. Tie-In Network. Texas International Interactive Network. Nobody ever knew what it stood for, but that's what it stood for.
And you went to Texas
I
a
went
couple
to
of
Texas.
times.
I did a couple of times.
Got on an airplane.
I did.
Big deal.
I did.
Now I don't even think twice about flying somewhere. I just think when's the latest I can get to the airport?
And not miss my flight.
I remember whenever you were flying, it was such a big deal. So also, you had like a stint where you kept a lot of kids.
I kept some in the summer. Yeah, this was before I went with the school system.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Took them to the pool every day.
That would be one Gerald Stansel's pool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Life was just so simple back then.
It was.
And it may not, as a kid, well, it's easy for me to say that life was simple, but I mean, as an adult, there's always struggles that kids just never know about.
That's
like
true.
My kids, they know daddy's stressed out, and I try not to even allow that to be known. I used to kind of wear it, but they're unaware of things.
Right.
Will's got his Xbox, and Bailey's got her, whatever she's doing this week. And Ella's now into reading, so they don't really know about struggles that parents go through. But that whole single parent thing, I didn't do it long. Year and a half, something like that. But it ain't easy.
When you do it all yourself, yeah.
It's not. And then there's this whole population of people, whether they're trucking families or not, that's their life. Mm-hmm. And, my heart goes out to them just because, I got a little taste of it. And the taste that I got was mild and it was difficult.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, I can't imagine, rather, week, 2 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. Everything's on you. You did good. One of the things that you say this a lot, and I you're my mama. I don't want to correct you because I respect you because I was raised right. plus the enforcer sitting across from me. But you didn't. You think you say this a lot. Oh, I made mistakes. Oh,
I did.
Yeah, but if you made mistakes, I didn't know that.
I did.
Me and Bradley are different people. Clearly, Uncle Bradley. But we respect our elders. We do the right thing. We take care of what we need to take care of.
Right.
You do. So I tell people all the time, I was raised right. That's how I know what to get involved with and not what to get involved with. Like, I make decisions based on what's right. And if I lose deals and I did the right thing, because I'm in sales, I could sleep at night. I got a big deal going on right now. It's not going so hot. There's nothing I could have done differently. There's nothing I can do differently. And I told one of my friends about it. I'm like, listen, I did the right thing. If God wants me to have that business, I'll have that business.
That's right.
If God doesn't want me to have that business, I'll be fine.
That's exactly
It'll suck, but I'll be fine.
That's right.
Because I know that everything I've done it through like the framework, if you will, or looking through the lens of just doing the right thing. And I see so many people in the market, or and I'm not calling anybody out, but they don't do business that way. They don't see things that way. They don't, and whether I have what they have or whether I don't, what I do have is my conscience and my ability to sleep.
That's right.
If I'm up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. or I can't go to sleep or whatever, it's not because I'm worried about I stabbed somebody in the back or I did this wrong or I did that wrong. It's because of just the overall stress load and overwhelm of owning a business and then having everybody's livelihood in my hands with the decisions that I make. It's not because I mess somebody over. So when people, when we talk about our core values, you look at them right there. I tell people all the time, not all the time, but periodically it'll come out of my mouth. I was raised right. So we do the right thing at this company. And right now, the right thing changes over time. I mean, the right thing never changes, always the right thing. But at different seasons and different phases in your life and in your business career, the right thing shifts a little bit. And right now, for me, the right thing is to empower that driver as much as possible, because I have come to realize that driver is overlooked. That driver is underserved. That driver is underappreciated. And, so many of these companies put this technology in the cab of the truck, which you never had an opportunity to use. And it can do 12 things and they stop at 3. So they're leaving 9 other things on the table that those things can do for that driver that they don't allow it. Right. So my mission now is like educating these companies on what it can do for the driver because it benefits the driver. Like right now, I'll just tell you this as an example. I know I'm off on a tangent here. I tell you this example. So did you know that there's an application? You use your mobile phone, you use navigation, you probably have 1 or 2 other applications.
Oh, he's had several.
Do you really? Have we progressed?
A little bit.
There's an application that will allow a driver to see what available spaces there are at a truck stop. So they know, instead of you having to remember, hey, I know that this is a good area that I can park. You can know exactly what's there. Mm-hmm. And you can say, at this Pilot Flying J, it's full. But there's a Love's 5 miles up the road and there's 5 spots. And if somebody doesn't take those 5 spots before you get there, you know in advance. So many trucking companies do not allow their drivers to have
use that application.
That one simple application solves for the number one problem that a driver has.
I wonder how many owners of trucking companies have actually been out there on the road with their drivers to see what the day-to-day problems that they face are.
That's a good point. Some have, some haven't. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is what I just described, I have it in my power to educate people on that. An example is that, the truck parking thing.
Right.
Like, that's the right thing for me because it's the right thing for the driver.
Right.
And so when I say we do the right thing, we don't screw people over. We don't do underhanded things to get deals, but we also try to go that extra mile with things like that whole truck parking example that I gave. Right. That's one of many.
Right.
Drivers have to stop driving every year for a certain period of time to recertify and stuff, right? So they're not making money. The fleet's not making money. Okay. They're having to take tests, training, and then take tests so they can continue to recertify. I don't know the details, all the details. But what I do know is they can do that right on their tablet. So instead of having to stop and be trained by someone, they can watch a video, take a test on the tablet, they're recertified. They do that on their off time.
Yeah.
Like things like that can be put in the cab of the truck because it's the right thing for the driver.
Right. It's to help him.
So when I say we do the right thing, it's not only ethically do the right thing, but we try to figure out what is the right thing for that driver.
Right.
Because there's a driver shortage.
Right.
Nobody wants to drive a truck. Nobody wants to work anymore.
No.
It ain't just drivers. It's it's our blue collar professionals.
It is.
Nobody wants to drive things. Nobody wants to build things. Nobody wants to fix things.
Right.
So we have a work ethic problem in this country. So we got to do everything we can to help those people with the means that we have.
Right.
So to me, that's what doing the right thing means. Because I have it to do. And if I don't do it, I don't feel that I'm doing the right thing. Doesn't mean that I'm shady or underhanded. It just means I stopped
Good point.
at number 4 whenever 10. There are 6 more things that I could introduce to that customer that will benefit their technicians, their drivers, their whoever.
Right.
So, and I'll just say that it really, honestly, the whole foundation of that came from just being raised right. So when you say, I made a lot of mistakes, and you tear up when you say that, I make mistakes. But you have not made the kind of mistakes that you maybe think you did. You're sitting in a conference room at a company that employs people that allowed one of these people to get their dream car and their first home this year. Okay. You got grandkids.
Amen. I do.
You got a good family. Ain't none of us in jail.
Praise the Lord.
Papa may have been in jail if he'd gotten actually caught with how many speeding tickets he got. You probably go to California, they may lock you up in the slammer.
I did go to jail one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, in Missouri for speeding. It was a county. I don't remember the name of the county.
Were you going like 70 and a 35?
I was going about 65 and 55.
And they put you in jail?
Yeah.
Well,
There's
what
more to that
happened?
story.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you.
The patrolman says, he wrote me the ticket. And he says, I said, well, is this where you need to send it in? He says, no, you follow me. I followed him, and they put me in jail. I said, what's going on? He said, you're going in front of the judge. I said, for speeding? Yes. I was handcuffed to other prisoners going across to the courthouse. Yeah, they had jumpsuits on. I had a T-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. And I went over there, and they called my name, and he said, how do you plead? I said, I plead guilty. He says, fine, such and such. And I said, why couldn't we have done that earlier? He said, we don't do things like that here.
They were old school.
Come to find out, a truck driver had lost control or something other, and his daughter, the judge's daughter, was, yeah. And they was tough on truckers. And I told him, I said, yes, sir. I'm paid fine. I said, you'll never see me again. And he says, okay. I said, I'm never coming back through this county again. I'll go around. Wow. But I did. I mean, and it was just a misfortune.
But I wasn't going to tell it if he didn't want to.
But it was a misfortune, that happened. But it did. And I was just speeding. That's all I was doing.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So now we have, you've driven my car. There's all kinds of technology up in there. Not only can you set the speed, but it also will monitor the distance between you and the car in front of you, and it'll automatically brake. The only thing it doesn't do is drive itself.
Right.
So back then, was there cruise control on trucks? I assume not, because I remember either you or Papa had this contraption and it was like a post with a crank on it, and it would attach to the dash and hold onto the truck pedal.
That was
what was that for? Did that have anything to do with cruise control?
That was to idle the engine up when you stop to go to sleep.
Okay.
So that it would, like if you had the air conditioner on, or heat, you would rev it up. It's better for the engine.
Got it.
Anyway, that's what it was, and
yeah, I remember seeing that. I think in both your trucks.
Yeah.
You did not make as many mistakes as you think, because I can't think of any.
Thank you, son. But
I mean, even if you did, look at how everything turned out. What kinds of crazy things that we do?
y'all were just boys. You were just boys.
Well, I know this. We certainly enjoyed throwing things into trash barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, trash barrel people.
Yeah.
And building skateboard ramps.
Oh, man. Wow.
Bradley liked climbing trees. He'd get on top of them. But
I
you
remember
just did
stealing your-
boys thing.
I remember taking some white rain hairspray and dropping it in the barrel.
In the trash barrel. Trash barrel, yeah.
I mean, I could have burned the whole neighborhood down. Because if it had shot, 20 feet the other direction, we'd had a woods fire.
We would have had a woods fire.
Yeah, because there wasn't nobody around.
So, who supported you? Not financially, but your best friend is gone. And you see and talk to your best friend, talk to him once a week, see him every other week for a couple of days, right? Mm-hmm. You got two boys. Mm-hmm. You're doing everything on your own. That's a lot. We all know that's a lot. So what did your support network look like?
Your granny and papa.
Okay.
Church. A church family. That's pretty much it.
I remember
my sisters.
Your sisters?
Yeah.
But I remember you also were friends with Sandra.
Sandra. Mm-hmm. Sandra Almond.
Okay.
Sandra Wells.
Is that about it?
That's about it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of different people, but some of those people are in your life by default.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mama, daddy, sisters.
Yeah.
And then church is obviously optional, but not optional for you.
Right.
But it seems like you had like one friend.
Yeah.
Outside of that core group. I remember going over to their house a few times.
Yeah.
Right there at the post office in Ingold, North Carolina.
The building's still standing, too.
Looks like something out of Andy Griffith's show. It sure does. What advice can you give other trucker wives that are maybe, driving a truck now? And I'll just say this just really quickly. Nobody wants to work. We just talked about that. There's a driver shortage. So pay is higher than it's ever been. Even with inflation and all that stuff compared to the 80s. Mm-hmm. What advice can you give to new trucker wives?
With the technology that's available, to maintain contact with them every day. It doesn't take much, 2 minutes. Use your resources that are available to you to bridge the gap.
That's a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you go from talking to them, collect call
Yep.
for 10 minutes once a week,
Right.
to 2 to 5 to 10 minutes every day where you can see their face.
Exactly.
Right.
And that will make the biggest difference. If you just maintain contact and communication.
It's come a long ways. Long ways.
And that's why I FaceTime the babies every
Every
school
single morning.
If it's only a couple of minutes, I can see their faces and they can see us. And it goes a long ways. Like when we went to your house before we came here, best thing in the world is they came running to the door. And they both Will and Bailey wanted to tell me about everything in that few minutes. So that's same concept.
And Ella, you light her up
Oh, I know.
every day.
She
She
come-
just loves it.
She came flying down the stairs. So, but see, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out.
Right.
Just those few
Quality.
couple of quality minutes.
Quality. Well, I will once again say I had no idea this was going to be a 3-hour deal. But you know what? We have 3 parts to a podcast. And I just want to say to both of you, thank you for making me the man that I am. I make mistakes. I fall short. You know, I think that's human nature to focus on what I should be doing or I'm not doing, or I could have done this or I could have done that. But, you know, for me, it gets down to me being raised right. And it gets down to having the experiences that I had coming up that makes me the ethical person that I am now. So thank you. And thank you for keeping the country moving.
Yeah.
Whether it was steel or cigarettes
Yeah.
or paper products,
Or pigs.
Yeah.
whatever it is, you know, it played a role in the economy.
Right.
And, you know, I'm sure it was overlooked because it still is to this day. So thank you. Thank you for enabling this business, you know, because we're all in on trucking. I'm
That's right.
clearly all in on drivers. May do a little twist of that with the driver families. That's a great idea from before. I know it was tough for that stretch, but I hope we can all look back and say it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Right.
It just goes to show you that God has a plan.
Amen to that.
He has a plan.
That plan does not always mean it's going to be easy.
No, it's not. But when you know what the right thing to do is, it makes it easier.
It does. It absolutely does. So thank you, and I love you both.
Very too.
Love you, baby.
And yeah, this is going to be on voiceofthedriver.com. It'll be the headline interview.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Well, if we help somebody, that's worth it.
well,
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you,
Yeah.
Nana, Mama, Nana. You realize you hug people and you tell people, everybody just calls me Nana.
I know.
That is your new identity.
Well, I mean, that to me, Nana. I mean,
You take
it's
pride in being a Nana.
I take pride in being Nana.
You take pride in being a Nana.
Yep. She does.
And and honestly, I think that's the reason why you just tell everybody to call you Nana. It means
mean-
that much to you.
Well, it's the term Nana is an honor. That's the way I look at it.
You not only look at it, you live it. So, yeah, the things that you talked about the suggestions that you made, and I could tell you were just kind of thinking out loud. Like You know, for those of you who are watching, they did not get these questions.
No,
So
we were at his mercy.
this is all, and this is how I do all of my driver interviews. They don't know what I'm going to ask.
Right.
Because what you get from a surprise question is usually genuine, right to the core.
Right.
So the things that you were talking about are things I've never thought about, but you can best believe I'll be thinking about them.
Well, because you haven't lived it.
No, but you have.
Right.
And there are women and men who are living it now, and children who are living it now, that it does not matter how much technology is available to see and talk to and communicate with. A parent that is not in the home is a parent that is missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the workload for that other parent doubles. And so does the sorrow.
Yeah.
So you know what? You've got my wheels turning on how we can not only focus on the driver, but focus on the driver's family.
Yeah.
So.
Because they're often the forgotten part.
Exactly.
You know, I don't want to claim that I've forgotten, but you kind of caught me. Because I've been thinking driver, because that's my customer. Well, my customer is the fleet, but the user of our solution is the driver. But also the driver is the most important person in the entire ecosystem. But man, I have not thought beyond that.
Yeah.
And this got me to that place. So, thank y'all.
All right.
We love you, son.
Love you too.